Hello and welcome to Guess Who's Talking. Today I'm joined by someone who's truly part of the fabric of local country music, a familiar voice on the radio and a much loved performer. His story is one of determination and heart, shaped by humble beginnings and a lifelong love of music. From small church halls to becoming a household name, he's brought joy to audiences for decades. Please welcome Hugo Duncan. Hugo, it's great to have you here. Thank you. And straight off the motorway, straight down from Strabane.
Straight up the motorway and got in here. I left about 3:30 or so, 3:20, and I got up here then.
You're still putting the miles on the clock, yeah?
Not as many as I used to. I used to do 60 to 70,000 miles a year. Now I'll be lucky to do 20.
You're very proud of being from Strabane, aren't you? I mean, you even call yourself the wee man from Strabane. That's right. It's part of your DNA.
Well, you see, Strabane, that's my life. Yeah. Strabane is my home, and I was brought up in Strabane, and the area I was brought up in. You know the way people look at different areas and give them different names. I was brought up in an area where maybe they wouldn't have got the best name at times, but I must say the people that I lived with and grew up with, and just went through life with, were some of the nicest people in the world.
Can I be personal for a minute and say you're looking great, and since I last saw you, which might have been a few years ago, you've lost a lot of weight. No cream buns for you at the minute.
No, I lost 5 stone.
My word.
I went from a 44-inch waist to a 34-inch waist. And the reason was some blood disorder I had. But I was getting, I said one time I was doing a concert, I said, there was a time when I was in the BBC and I used to have about 12 cameras around me and doing TV work and the whole lot. And now I say the only camera that I see in front of me is the one they're putting somewhere I can't see.
But you're well. You're well.
I am. Yeah. Thank God I went through scans and I went through a lot of different things, but it worked out okay. And I'm very, very lucky, and I was very frightened. People are walking up to you and they walked up to you at dances and concerts, and they walked up to you in the studio and they say, "How you doing, Hugo? Are you all right?" And you knew what they were thinking. They were saying, "Hugo, have you cancer?"
Really?
That's the way.
Because you'd lost the weight.
I'd lost so much, and I put on about a half stone now, maybe a stone, but I was really, really down, and it was frightening for me too as well, because I knew I was losing it, and I knew I wasn't trying to lose it, and.
But are you feeling better for it?
I'm feeling great for it, and it was good. But all the internal examinations and all that were very severe enough, and frightening enough. And we went through it all, but we got there because down through the last number of years in my home, health hasn't always been good in it. And my daughter went through cancer. She had 4 operations before they found out she had the cancer, and she had a stoma bag on then for 2.5 years, and then she got it off then, and then. That's years ago now, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But, when you grow up through all this, and I came through lots of things, even myself, going through bankruptcy. And when you come through bankruptcy and come through this and that and the other thing, you find out then that, they don't matter if you haven't got health. And I remember I was going through the bankruptcy thing, and I was going through it. I had some very restless night, and I was sitting there, and at times you didn't know whether you wanted to get up in the morning or not. Yeah. And it was hard thinking and very, 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 I couldn't relax anyway at all. And
what kept you going through that?
I'm not saying this because I'm over religious. I am religious, but I'm not over religious. I wouldn't preach the gospel to anybody, but I say prayer. And I do a thing, and my mother's dead 55 years. And I still talk to her every day.
Do you really?
And
you were very close to your mother, weren't you?
Well, it's only, you see, I'm a one-parent family. So my mother brought me up herself. And at that time, when you go back to 1950, a one-parent family wasn't as common as it is today. My mother would have been called every bad name and word in the street at that time because she was having the child out of wedlock. But she kept with me and she kept me. And, you know, she had nobody else. Her mother had died, her father had died, and her brother had died, and she was left on her own. And she had me at 39 years of age. So she brought me up, and, you know, we had nothing, but we had a home.
And I mean, I know, I can see you're getting a wee bit emotional now, and you know, because you were really close to your mum. You know, what was life like back then? Did you realise, was there a stigma to it for you?
The way it was in our house, my ma was there all the time. My ma was 4 foot nothing. You know, she's about 5 foot just, and she used to sing every day of the week.
Did she?
And she sang, and I used to sing, and and the neighbours came in, and my ma used to read cups, and the girls all came in from work, you see, at the weekend, and said, my ma would be sitting down reading the cups.
The tea leaves.
Tea leaves, aye. And she was reading the cups, and they'd be coming in to see, are they going to fall in love with the tall, dark and handsome? Or maybe
that's what they wanted to hear.
Wee boy like me instead. But they came in and got all this done, and I remember one night, you know, when I was a very, very young child, and she was reading the cup for this neighbour of ours. And she said to the neighbour, you know, you're going to get, what's the way she put it, unexpected visitors. And she read the cup, and the next day her daughter arrived from Scotland. And, you know, she was good at them. And I remember one day, I used to always be at all the church, oh, there you are. I used to be at all the church halls because I sang at the guest teas, and I sang at anything at all that I got a chance of singing. I was down, my ma worked in the cloakroom, and there was 2 other women called Katie and Maisleben, and they made the tea and all. So my ma was in, and I remember one day, Suzanne, Susie, my mother, she was in making tea and all, and she got this cup in to read, and it was the local parish priest. And she was reading it, but there was no woman on it.
Well, so you were singing from an early age. Was there a moment then when you thought, this is what I want to do? I want to be on a stage.
I wanted to be a drummer.
Did you?
And I drummed in the Keeley band for a long while. And then I used to play a wee bit in the accordion, and I played a wee bit in the guitar, but I was never good at any of them. You know, and my ma sent me to piano lessons. And the worst thing about me is, if I'm going to learn anything, I have to learn it myself. Mm-hmm. If I have to sit down and read it out of a book, or I need somebody to talk to me about it and tell me about it. And when I get it in here, I can keep it in here.
So that's the kind of learner you are then, by doing things, yeah.
I remember at 48 years of age in the BBC, I had a girl, Mary Mack, work with me, and Joanne Murphy worked with me. Mm-hmm. And Joanne was one of the Queen's graduates as well, and she did languages. She had 3 qualified languages, Irish, English and French. And she came in, and, you know, I knew I had no education at all. And, you know, it is intimidating, not from the people that you're working with, but it's intimidating. Your own mind intimidates yourself because you say, these people know a lot more than I do. And,
a lot of that self-talk does the damage, doesn't it?
So this word came in one day, and I was at 48 years of age, and she was working with me for about 6 months. You would know Joe.
Oh, I do.
I think the last time you met Joe and the whole lot of us, we were standing over at the American consulate. Must come back some years, but we were there, and we were chatting. But Joe came into me one day, and she left down this word. So I got courage, and it was courage, at 48 to go and say, Joe, what's that word there? Mm-hmm. Joe knew what the word was. She said to me, she says, I think it means stamp collecting.
Right.
I says, aye. She says, it's called philately. Mm-hmm. So put down phil, put down lat, put down till, and lay. Mm-hmm. So I put the 4 wee yokes down, and the next thing was, now she says, say it quick. And that's how I learned. I started to learn to read properly about 48 years of age.
Really?
Everything else was slow. It was like, you know, watching slow motion, and I was reading the way slow. Yeah. But no,
and that's because you left school young, and you didn't really engage at school, did you?
No.
Yeah.
I never. The only thing I passed at school was the school itself. Never passed anything else, and it was there. But another thing is, when you see where I got today. Education means so much, but the person means so much more. You know, you could have all I know a lot of people that worked with me down through the years, whether it was in a show band, whether it was in the BBC, here, there, or yonder. They have a lot of education, but they've no sense.
Yeah.
And you know, the common denominator, a wee bit of sense, it takes you a long, long way. And I think when I went into the BBC, they were afraid of me too as well, because they didn't know what I was going to say or how I was going to say it. And I've still gone there every day. I never used a script in my life. One reason in particular was I couldn't read it.
Yeah.
And then I found a couple of producers one time. I found them out saying things behind my back when they didn't think I was there. Right. You know, and I withheld coming back at them. But no, I learnt the hard way. I learnt with insult. I learnt without education. But always remember, anybody out there who has not got the academic qualification, and everybody's got their own talent. Some people can do academics. Some people can do building, contracting. And it's people. I love people. I love people. I love meeting people, and I love music.
And music is one of your languages, would you say?
Oh,
yeah.
It just makes it makes my life, and I don't think I ever go through a day without singing to myself. And you know.
What do you feel like when you're up on the stage there, Hugo? Because you know you've told a very personal story there, you know, about not being able to read and your background and the issues you've been through. But when you're standing on that stage, you command the room.
Yeah.
What does that feel like for you?
It feels great because, you know, I look down there at times and see people looking up at me, and you know, number one, thank God they are looking up at me. I'm very lucky to have survived. I started off professionally in 1971. I was going for about 5 years before that. So, and I was married in 70. I was 20 on the 26th of March, 1970. On the 2nd of April, 1970, a week later, I was married to Joan. And on the 16th of April, a fortnight, inside a month, I was holding the blessed candle in my mother's hand and praying into her ear. She was dying. Oh. And she died inside a month. So it was a big, you know, I was very lucky I was married.
Huge year for you.
And Joan came down to my home and stayed with me then in Strabane. And Joan was a big Joan was a silent person. You know, she never went round. She could give off rightly, like, you know, if she had to give off. But she never went round. She could tell you what you did wrong without emphasising the thing. And you knew right away you were getting a hook right away, you know, that kind of way. She was, you know, when I look back now, down through the years, you know, I'm lucky to have her. I'm lucky to have, I have a daughter now who's worse. I can do nothing without her. I get very emotional at times, you know.
You do. Well, you're surrounded by women in your family, aren't you? Yeah. It must teach you a lot. Huh?
Suzanne got me through a lot of things. Good. And, you know, you can, it's very hard to condense it all. Yeah. Because it's been a well-lived life. And then, you know, I always wanted to be good at everything I did. And one of the things that I was really good at, that I shouldn't have been good at, was drinking. I became an alcoholic. Well,
that indeed, it's great that you mentioned that, because it's a sensitive subject, you know, and so many people here struggle with that. And what was it, the fact that you were out playing gigs and surrounded by alcohol?
I was just in there and I was drinking, and I've seen me down in the late 70s, 80s. And I started off in 70, Easter Sunday, 1971, in a carnival in Newton Stewart. I was in a band called the Tall Men. And we took off. And I was a fine looking wee lad then, you know. I wasn't this shape all the time.
The Tall Men, and you call yourself the wee man from Strabane.
Well, you see, they're all bigger than me. It wasn't too hard. But we started off there, and then I got a #1 hit with a song called Dear God, a Patsy Cline song. And it went from there to there, and all of a sudden you were projected into this, and I went to Reach for the Stars, and the late Fran O'Toole, who was killed in the Miami explosion, Fran was the man who won it. And, you know, this is all going down through the life, and I was drinking very heavy then. When I got to the end of the term, and we finished after 4 years, we had about 10 songs in the top 10 and about 5 or 6 in the top 5. We're doing well, but I was a full-time drinking too as well.
When did you realise it was a real problem then?
I knew all the time it was a problem.
Did you?
You know, anybody that says, I have a drink problem, but I only realise that now, you don't. You know it all the time when you're going through. And if anybody comes to me and says to me, and say they're taking drink, and they come to me and say to me, give me a bit of advice, I want to go off drink, and they have drink taken, I'll say, come back when you're sober. Yeah. Because I done the same. And you're not, all you're looking for is sympathy. You go there and you're not ready. Yeah, the one thing you need in a case of alcoholism, you need a firm purpose of amendment. And you have to get into that.
What does that mean?
Well, you have to want to do what you're saying you're going to do. And the firm purpose is stop drinking. And you want to amend your life. And it didn't work for me for a long, long while. I see me going down on a Monday and a Tuesday and drinking maybe 60 or 70 pound a day. And my wife have no money for dinner on a Sunday. You know, and that's not to be proud of. But if it helps anybody to not do it, well, it is good.
So how long did it take you then to, to stop completely? Did you fall off the wagon, or did you join AA?
No, I never joined the AA because I came to the decision that if I wanted the AA and I was playing in Cork or Kerry, Dublin, Mayo, Galway, or London, Birmingham, Manchester, I needed an AA meeting and I couldn't get one. It was an excuse for me to drink. Right. So I just did it on my own the whole way through it. I did it on my own, and Joan was behind me, Suzanne was there, but they never ever pressurised me. Never. And I'll tell you how I stopped drinking. As I said, I was taking a lot of drink at that time. And I was stopped in the car one night and I was over the limit.
Stopped by the breathalyzer?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over the limit. And the case went on for about 18 months. I got off in what do you call it?
Technicality?
Technicality,
right? Mm-hmm.
That's the word. I got off on that. I got off on the technicality, but it went on and on. But I drank. I was caught drunk and driving on the 13th of September, 1983. You never forget them things. And I went off the drink. I had a thing called, and I still have it, diverticulitis. It's a bowel complaint. And I thought I had cancer at that time too as well. And I made a promise that if I got over Christmas, I would go off the drink. So I got over Christmas and went off. And my last drink was on the 28th of December, 1983. And the first day sober was on the 29th of December, 1983. And thanks be to God and his mother, I haven't drank since.
So it's a good while now.
Yeah. So it's 50 odd years.
Yeah.
Well, no, not 50, 40 odd years.
Yeah.
But it was, I remember going home one night and I left the keys of the front door in the house. And we were living in a wee, now I had number ones and I was doing this and I was living in a 2-bedroom council house. And I hadn't even the rent paid for that. I was too busy drinking. But I remember I left the keys behind me and I knocked the door. And Joan came down and she came down the stairs. And Suzanne would be infant child. And Joan looked at me and says, "What's wrong with you, sick?" And I says, "No, what do you mean?" Because I was going through this diverticulitis thing. And she said to me, she says, "What's wrong with you?" And I says, "Why?" And she says, "You're sober." And I said, "Sure, I'm told you, I'm trying to go off the drink." And she was standing up here and she was holding the door like this here, and I was standing outside to her, and I can't tell you what she said to me. And she walked straight up the stairs. She didn't believe me.
Wow. Tell me about the BBC gig. How did you get the gig? How did you move from playing on stage and being in the band and everything to behind the microphone playing the music?
I got the gig to stand in. Well, I was doing relief for Sean Coyle and people like that in Radio Foyle. And Don O'Doherty, God bless him, God rest him. And I was doing that. And then I got an offer would have come into the BBC for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, aye. He says, now it's half. Paul Evans rang me. You know Paul.
He was on control of Radio Ulsters at the time, I think, wasn't
and Paul said to me, he says, this call never happened. But Anna Carroll was in charge at that time, and Paul was working on it. And he said, would you be interested in the show in the afternoon? I said, well, what? I said, it'd be an answer to me candles, lighting all these candles. And I got the job for 6 months. And that's nearly 30 years ago. It was
Wow.
the same place. And you know who was in the studio with me one day? Not just with me, but she came in. She wasn't the Queen at this time, Camilla.
Oh, really?
And I was asked, would I like to see royalty? And I says, aye, sure it is, that's okay. So we got the date, and I went up that day, and we were standing in the big semicircle going round for her, and she walked in, and I was the last one in the row. And she turned around, she said to me, she says, hello, how long are you here? And I said, and I didn't realise protocol, you're not supposed to touch them. Well, I touched her 2 elbows, and all my managers were behind her. I said, don't tell that crowd behind you. But I got this job for 6 months, and I'm still here yet, 26 or 7 years later. And she went, ho, 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 ho.
So you got on well with her.
Aye, and she said to me on the way out, she says, will you give me a shout out on your programme today? Not very many people can say that, I tell you. No. And I says, oh, well, surely. And she says, what would you like? Well, we'll have to keep it in royalty. So I'm saying to myself, what am I going to play in royalty? I said, what would you think? Well, as I said, we'll have to keep it in royalty. So I said, well, what's that? Well, you'll have to play for me Ireland's country queen, Philomena Begley.
Really? She's aware of Philomena?
Honestly, she was she knew her business.
Well briefed.
And I phoned Philomena when I come down the stairs. And I said, Camilla was in with me. And she asked me to play a request for her. And you know who she asked? How would I know? You know,
I'm sure she thought you were winding her up.
she asked for Ireland's country queen, Philomena Begley. And she told me where to go. And you wouldn't get it in the sat-nav. And she hung up. She thought I was taking a hander.
I'm sure she did. Well, of course, royalty, no stranger to you. In the past year, you were awarded an MBE by Prince William.
And it was great. Do you know, myself and my wife were married. Well, we courted for 18 months. We got engaged for 18 months. And we're married for 55 years.
Wow.
So that's 58 years. Would you believe that the first time my wife and myself has been on a plane was going over to Windsor?
No way.
We've never been on a holiday in our life together.
You've not been
She
abroad
wouldn't go
together.
with me. But we went over, and I took my daughter Suzanne, and I took my granddaughter Kitty Sue, who works with me in the programme at home.
Wow.
And we went over there, and you know, it was great. You know my biggest problem?
No.
When I got word about getting the MBE, there's so much goes through your mind, you know, you have to wonder what it could do.
And you have to keep it a secret, haven't you, for a
that
while?
was my biggest problem.
That
because
was
I'm a real
not
mouth.
telling anybody.
She can hear the way I'm chatting here. I'm a real mouth, tell everything. But I got through it, and I phoned a couple of clergy, and they helped me. I should tell you the one about the first time I was in the papers, front page of the papers, about being bankrupt.
Right.
But I got this. I wasn't going to go out the next day. It was a Saturday and Sunday. It was a Friday. So I was in the house, and this text came to me. Hugo, get up and get out today. Don't stay in the house. Take your wife out for a lunch. And you do so much work in the community and the whole lot, and every day in the afternoon. So go out for your lunch and do a bit of shopping with your wife. Well, I sent him back a text. I said, you know, I wasn't going to go out today because I had a funeral to go to that day. I go to a lot of funerals. I had a funeral to go to that day and one the next day. And he said to me, I said, I'm going to go out after you send me this. And he sent me back a text. He says, would you have believed, if you ever heard this, that you'd be taking advice on a day like today from a free Presbyterian minister?
A free Presbyterian minister.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he texted me and he told me, Jeffrey Abrams is his name, and Jeffrey says, go out take your wife out, you do good work in the community.
But that encouraged you
Oh, it did.
and
I
gave you
went out.
strength. Yeah, you did.
And you know, it kept me going. But I was very lucky, and I was chatting to him during the thing as well, and Father Brian, I talked to Father Brian, different
Brian
people.
Darcy,
and
yeah.
my own.
I know you dedicated your MBE to your lovely mum too, didn't you? Yeah, yeah. She meant so much to you. Hugo, you've been broadcasting. You've been a showman. The music's so important to you. Of all of those things, how do you think you'd sum yourself up? Your life.
I would say the main thing in my life is people.
Yeah.
I love meeting people. I go on the radio every day.
Yeah.
And, you know,
you connect with so many people, don't you?
I bear in mind the fact of the matter that there's people in there sitting in the house that maybe have reared 7, 10, maybe 15 children, and not one child goes to see them at all. They don't go near them. And, you know, I know what it's like to be sitting there when you need somebody, and everybody needs somebody. You can't go through this life without having help from somebody. And I think of them every day, and I want somebody to call and say hello to them. And I just want to keep them happy. And I say stupid things at times, but I only say it to make them laugh.
There's no doubt you're a people person indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Hugo Duncan. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it. That's it.